Welcome to Perimenopause Weight Loss and Wellness, the podcast for women over 35 who are ready to stop guessing and start understanding what really is happening to their bodies. I'm your host, Anastasia Bennett, registered clinical nutritionist specializing in perimenopause, menopause, weight loss, and gut health, and someone who's been through early perimenopause myself. Whether you're struggling with stubborn weight, fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, poor sleep, or just looking for strategies that work for this stage of life, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. Today, my guest is Heidi Richardson from Bone and Body Blueprint. And Heidi specializes in DEXA bone density and body composition scanning, which is so exciting because I'm getting my first DEXA scan on Thursday this week, I think. And they are helping people understand what's actually happening inside their bodies long before problems show up. And so today we're going to be talking about something most important women never think about until it's too late. It's bone health. So hi, Heidi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's a little bit new for me, but we'll see how it goes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
So I'm a qualified radiographer, qualified a long time ago, 25 years ago, and we saw a real need to bring to the forefront more about bone health. And so a couple of my colleagues and I, who are also radiographers, decided that we would get a bone density scanner ourselves and start to educate people about bone health. So bones is what I do, x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, bones is what I do. And now we do DEXA scanning for bone health.
That's so great. I don't think I ever heard about DEXA until I started looking into, when I got into perimenopause and then I had hysterectomy. And so I started looking into bone health, all of that stuff. And I was like, why this is not a common thing in New Zealand? And when I got my third.
Yeah, it is common in other countries in America and Europe and Australia, and it is getting more common in New Zealand.
Yeah, even I had to ask my GP to be referred because I've had low vitamin D and I had hysterectomy. And I was like, well, I need to know where I'm at. Yes, I'm not 45 yet, but I need to know where I'm at right now with all those things before it's going to be too late. What's my starting point? Anyway, so the reason I really wanted to talk to you about is because the high risk of osteoporosis for women that's going through menopause, perimenopause, menopause. So a lot of people heard of osteoporosis, right? But what actually happens to your bones as we get older?
Right. So we really have to go back to the beginning, and everything that we do up to the age of 30 builds a really dense bone structure. So I'm talking about the inside bone, not the white, hard cortical bone. I'm talking about the spongy honeycomb on the inside. We call it the trabeculae bone. So everything we do up to the age of 30 is building like a really dense bone structure. And then from 30 to 50, it kind of plateaus. And then from 50 downwards, that dense structure starts to reabsorb. So we need to be really active in our younger years to be able to be right up the top here when it plateaus, not kind of down here when it plateaus. Then the downhill is much better, is much quicker. So when I say it reabsorbs, what's happening in our bones is we have two things that's happening. We have the building of the bone and the reabsorbing of the bone, and that's constantly happening throughout our body. So what we try and do is we build bone and then it reabsorbs, and we build bone and it reabsorbs. Now, when either of these sides of the equation is out of whack, so it's not building enough bone or the reabsorption is too fast, that's when we get thinning of the bones, and it's that dense structure starts to reabsorb and becomes holey or thin, and we get a condition called osteoporosis, which is frail bones.
So when you look at the picture, or the DEXA thing, where you get the picture, what are you looking for? How does it look like? Is it means that it's not like dense? Does it look like cheese?
Exactly, like Swiss cheese with holy cheese. So the matrix of the trabeculae is kind of like a scaffolding. And then that scaffolding starts to disappear or it starts to thin down. So we get little thin bits of scaffolding instead of dense bits of scaffolding. And it happens on the inside of your bones and mostly your long bones. So, in your arm, your femur, Mostly in the long bones is where we see it. And different lifestyle factors can speed up either of those processes, the building or the reabsorption. So we have medication, we have lifestyle, and then of course there's menopause. So, and that's what happens is we get these things that will speed up the reabsorption or slow down the building. And that's going to happen for us, but we don't want it to be happening in our 40s or 50s. We want to stave it off in our 90s as opposed to early on.
Yeah. So are there any symptoms that comes with it? Like, do you know you have it apart from fragile bones and breaking them? Is there anything else that you might notice that you go,
no,
you should get it done? No.
It's literally called a silent disease because you don't know you've got a break bone. So this is all going on. It's like pain or like an you don't know that it's starting to reabsorb. So this is just happening in your body without you doing it. And that is why the doctors do call it the silent disease.
Oh, wow. Interesting. All right. So why should women in perimenopause start thinking about bone health before menopause?
Right. So estrogen is kind of like protects the bones against the reabsorption. So it sort of is in our body and it's kind of like protecting our bones. So in perimenopause, the estrogen starts to drop. So that's really the starting point of that protection for our bones starting to really decrease. And then, of course, when we go through perimenopause and then into menopause, that decreases even more in menopause. So in perimenopause, it's just a really good thing to start to think about protecting your bones as the estrogen is starting to drop.
Yep, that's good. I always talk about bone health with clients, and I always tell them that you should start doing resistance training on the weight training now and think of it as your insurance, your longevity plan, especially if you're not planning to take any hormone replacement therapy, because some women still afraid because of the, early 2000s, the risks of taking HRT and things like that. So I still get lots of clients that go, I don't want to go on HRT. I'm like, maybe you should get second opinion from different GP or whatever. But if you're not planning, you need to be doing some exercise to help you to improve your bone density because it's going to go down. So what are the biggest risk factors that increase bone loss?
Okay, so we have lifestyle factors, which are smoking, excessive alcohol. So all of these things kind of either reduce their body's ability to build or speed up the reabsorption. Excess caffeine, lifestyle factors that we're not moving around, not exercising as much. And then we have medications that people might be on. One of the side effects of thyroid medication is it stops the calcium getting absorbed into the bones. So there's a list of medications that have side effects to deal with bone health. And then we have conditions in the body like Crohn's disease or bowel disease, which is stopping nutrients being absorbed, kidney disease, liver disease, those sorts of things get the balance of the building and the reabsorption kind of out of whack as well. So generally lifestyle choices, medications, and then conditions in the body that can affect the bone loss.
Wow. So pretty much everything. The living and breathing increases risk of bone disease. I didn't know about coffee.
Excessive caffeine does affect the calcium being absorbed into the bone. So, you can have your 1 or 2 cups a day. Just don't be going crazy and having 5
Not
cups.
8?
Yeah, no, probably not 8. Same with excessive
I'll find out on Thursday.
2 glasses of wine is okay, but don't go into the 3rd and 4th glass of wine every day because that actually affects your bones as well.
Well, I don't drink, so then can I have 4 coffees?
Nah, I don't think it works that way, but I like the way you're thinking.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I really didn't know about coffee or even alcohol. There's 2 things I just learned today that I really need to minimize my coffee intake. Interesting. Yeah. So who should do the DEXA bone density scan, and what age would you recommend? Not the what age is recommended, but what age would you recommend someone start?
So all of the recommendations is to have a baseline at 65. But as you know, being perimenopause and menopausal, we do recommend getting a baseline around 50 years of age. But if you're in early menopause, it's really imperative that you get that baseline sooner. Anybody that's had a total hysterectomy where they've removed their ovaries as well as the uterus in their early 40s, you really do need to get a baseline to see where you are. You know, if your bone health is up here when you plateau, that's fine. But if your bone health is already down here, then you plateau and then you're going to decrease. Then you're already on the back foot. So a baseline and a DEXA scan is the only way to test it. There is one type of blood test, but it's not as accurate. X-rays show the cortical bone and the trabeculi, but only in a matter of seeing if the cortex is broken for a broken bone. We can tell on X-rays that the bone looks light or looks a little bit low bone density, but the only way to actually truly measure what's happening on the inside of the bone and calculate what we call the bone mineral content is with a DEXA scan. It's very specific for bone density.
Yeah.
So, menopause, perimenopause, getting a baseline, seeing where you're at is a really good way to then future-proof yourself and to get ahead of the game for it. And certainly if you have a family history or any risk factors, then that's an immediate, come through for a DEXA bone density scan.
Yeah, and should males get it done?
Yeah, so the research sort of shows that with males, they're kind of about 10 years behind women in their bone health. So if a woman's bones start to decrease at 50, theirs start to decrease at 60. However, the exception for that is low testosterone. If they've got low testosterone, testosterone is kind of the male protection for the bones. Like we've got estrogen, and then men have testosterone that also protects the bones as well. So if they have got low testosterone or any other risk factors, Crohn's disease, thyroid issues, they might be on steroids for rheumatoid arthritis or anything like that. Again, any other risk factors, they should be coming for a bone density as well. But men are not excluded from osteoporosis as much as what people think, basically. It doesn't discriminate between men and females. There's just more of a at risk with the drop in estrogen for females.
Interesting. So what if female have low testosterone? Does that increase the risk of osteoporosis, or is it just estrogen that impacts females?
It's more estrogen, but there is a small link for females with less low testosterone as well.
And so what about if somebody has low vitamin D and then on prescription for vitamin D?
Yeah, so
how does that impact?
D is absolutely essential for that building. That's the side of the equation where I say we're building bones. You can take as much calcium supplements as you like, but we've got to get that calcium into the building blocks of the bone. And the things that we absolutely need to get the calcium absorbed into there is vitamin D and vitamin C and K2 as well. So vitamin D is really essential. And if you're already depleted in vitamin D, then you need a whole lot more vitamin D to be able to get yourself back up to homeostasis and then use it to get it into. So again, that's another test that can be done. Low vitamin D, that's another risk factor as well for getting a DEXA scan.
And you know how with vitamin D you should be taking K2? I'm not sure if you know or not, but why when we get prescription for vitamin D, it's literally just vitamin D?
I think they never tell you to take K2? Or to be honest, the prescription for the vitamin D is a very high dose, 50,000 IU once a month.
That's what we get. Yeah.
And there's a little bit of research that supported that, and that's why it is on prescription, because there is some research that supported that. However, the more current research is to be having more regular vitamin D rather than once a month, and then the more current research is to put it with K2. I'm not sure why the GPs haven't added the K2s for that. I can't answer that question, but I would be very encouraging to have K2 with D3 as well as vitamin C as well. Vitamin C is quite important to get that calcium absorbed into the bones as well.
Interesting. Vitamin C is important for everything, pretty much, for anything and everything. And you pee it out straight away as well. So you have to continuously take it, not just when you feel sick or run down.
Absolutely. Yep.
Lots of vitamin C's and capsicums. Lots of oranges and capsicums will do. Awesome. So can we improve bone density naturally through like nutrition, exercise, or do you think it's like, doesn't matter what we do, we're still going to have massive bone loss no matter what?
No, you can definitely improve it. We've just talked about vitamin D and calcium and K2 and vitamin C. And then when we talk about the exercise thing, we need to look at Julius Wolff, who actually is a German surgeon back in the day, and you might have heard of the term Wolff's Law. So Wolff's Law basically says that the body, human bone and tissue will adapt to stresses that it is put under. So we go to the gym and we work our muscles, the stress is working the muscles and our muscles grow bigger. The same as happens with bones. If we can put the bones under a load or under a stress, the body will adapt to that stress. So this is Wolff's Law. It will adapt to that stress and it activates what we call osteoblasts. So osteoblasts are the building, and it activates the body to actually increase osteoblasts. So everybody seems to know about weight-bearing exercises, but they don't kind of like know why. They sort of go, oh well, we're meant to be doing weight-bearing exercises.
Yeah.
But they don't know why. Well, it's Wolff's Law. It is putting a stress on your bones and on your body to actually activate your body to start the osteoblasts to start building, to keep building that bone. As we age, the building starts to drop off and the breaking down or the reabsorption increases. So we want to keep that building up as high as we can in that, and that is putting a stress. So one of the phrases that I absolutely love, and I tell it to nearly every client that comes through, is bone grows where stress goes. So bone grows.
Easy to remember.
Where stress goes. So anything that you can do that can stress the bone, and I'm not talking about breaking a bone, but put the bone under a load, the bone will start to grow. And we had an example of this, a 78-year-old lady who was with a walking frame. She couldn't go out walking. She couldn't do a lot, but she bought herself a rowing machine, and she had the rowing machine in her lounge, and she sat there and she rowed. Okay. And
yeah.
Kind of saw her maybe 2 years later. So we did an initial one and she was osteoporotic, and we saw her 2 years later. She couldn't go on medication to help her bones. She was already vitamin D. She had upped her calcium and everything, but she used this rowing machine. Now, grabbing hold of the rowings and rowing is putting a stress on your bones. And it was so interesting to see how much bone she had actually built. She hadn't just halted that disease process. She'd actually started to build.
Wow.
So,
just rowing.
Rowing.
That's impressive.
Yep. And she'd do like 5 and then stop and watch TV, and then do another 5 and then stop and watch TV. And it really did prove that bone grows where stress goes.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So like, would you say walking with some weight on or no weight?
That's pounding the pavement, we say. Anything that's able to put a bit of jarring, even where you do heel raises, where you lift your heels and then down on the ground. Standing at the kitchen, you can lift your heels and then down on the ground. They have done, they have done a bit of research about that, and just that slight jarring is enough to activate these osteoblasts. So whilst aqua aerobics is just so good for muscles and for everything like that, aqua aerobics is not putting a weight or a load on the bones. So we need to be doing something like walking, dancing, get out.
Dancing. I was going to say dancing.
Tennis, playing tennis, where there's like, you're hitting the ball and you're also on an asphalt court.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be hours a day or anything. If you've got any older clients, just the smallest amount, that lady rowing 3 to 4 times a week for 18 months was enough to increase her bone density.
How many minutes? Because normally it's recommended 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. That's for overall health. But what about for bone density? Do you know?
So generally we say 15 minutes 3 to 4 times a week.
That's achievable.
Yep. So if
that's very achievable.
Yep. Or if you're in the, people that go to the gym that are trying to lift weights, that's absolutely amazing because they are putting a stress on their bones. So going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week for 15 minutes is absolutely enough. It's more the consistency of it, doing massive volumes.
Yeah. Consistency always win. Yep. Awesome. So that's very interesting and so valuable. So what's the one thing every woman listening today could start doing this week to protect her bones?
Well, I would be saying it is exercise. Bone grows where stress goes. So get into a habit or get into a routine, a dance club, a walking group, a tennis group, anything that gets you into a routine of just that consistency. Definitely.
Love it.
I would say exercise for me would be as a radiographer, knowing how bones react to a stress.
That's great.
For me would be the top one. And then, of course, working out if you've got low vitamin D, or if you're any vitamin deficiencies that you've got to make sure that you're getting that.
Yeah.
There was a study that said that for after menopause, generally go through menopause in our 50s. So after menopause, within 5 to 7 years after menopause, you will lose 20% of your bone density.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a lot.
It is a lot. And it's, we're trying to do a lot of education with people. Don't just listen to this podcast and store it away in your brain. Talk to your friends. Talk to your auntie, talk to your mother. Hey, have you got osteoporosis? Are we predisposed to having this? There is definitely component. Talk to your aunties, talk to your mother, talk to your daughter in her 30s and say, hey, everything you do up to the age of 30 to 35 is building strong bone. So, I'm watching what you're doing, so yeah.
And then after 35, it's all about preserving.
Yeah. Well, and it is
building like your 78-year-old.
Yep. It is building, but yeah, as we age, we are going to lose bone. So it's about, preserving and trying to build that up as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for today's episode. It's so valuable. And I'm so excited because we're going to do 2 more episodes. One, we're going to be covering weight loss drugs. Wegovy.
Yep.
And then the third one is going to be about body composition and what it means when you're on a weight loss journey and the effect on the body and things like that. So I'm so excited about those 2 other episodes. Well, thank you so much for today. I know your time is valuable.
Your bone density in one of these episodes.
Well, hopefully I'll show up and I'll say, everything is great.
I will show you mine if you show me yours.
Sure, we can do that. We can compare. Yeah, we can have a look and you can just say, this is how to understand it. Yeah, sure. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heidi, for today. And I'm looking forward to our next podcast.
Me too.
If you have any questions about this podcast or about hormones, weight loss, or just healthier lifestyle, please go to our website at lifehackcoaching.co.nz or feel free to email me directly, Anastasia@lifehackcoaching.co.nz.